Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with two-time Grammy Award Winning producer Street Symphony, discussing being the VP of A&R at Reach Records, producing uplifting records like Nipsey's Hustle and Motivate, and pouring back into his community through scholarship and service. Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and I'm sitting down with Grammy Award Winning Street Symphony.
What's up?
I'm sorry, Grammy Award Winning producer Street Symphony. I'm like, just y'all know who he is.
Two times.
2 times.
There we go.
Yeah, 2 times. That's awesome. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I can't complain. Happy to have you on the podcast. Happy to sit down with you and chat about the journey. Yeah.
I'm glad y'all got me here. Thank you.
No problem. So being raised, you're born in Memphis, raised in Nashville, yeah?
Yep.
Being raised in like the home of such like a big music city, when did the bug actually hit you?
The bug definitely hit in Memphis, Tennessee. I had an older cousin, and he was just like always listening to a whole bunch of stuff he wasn't supposed to be listening to, NWA and Ghetto Boys.
We all had that older cousin.
Yeah, and here I am. He telling me about it, and I'm real little, but I'm listening to NWA and Ghetto Boys and, you know, Eazy-E, solo projects, et cetera. So that kind of just did it for me with rap.
How old were you?
Man, I can't even remember. I want to say 9, 8, something like that maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I read that your mom was kind of, or no, has been supportive of, you know, your passions from early on.
Oh, yeah.
How did she feel those passions for you in the beginning? So, you know, you got the book, or you learned about hip-hop through your older cousin, but then from there, your mom, I know she enrolled you into a program of some sort, yeah?
Well, yeah, while I was in Memphis, I learned to play violin. She put us in a program. I actually had an aunt that taught at University of Memphis. So They had this little program where they were like allowing inner city kids to learn instruments or whatnot. My mom was like, you going? And then I go, and then it was violin. And I'm like, violin? But I'm young, and it was paid for. So I took Suzuki violin as a kid. Yeah.
A violin?
Yeah, violin.
First instrument?
First instrument.
How was that experience? Like, were you really into it in the beginning?
I mean, when you're young and you're learning something new, you know.
It's fun.
It's fun. But, I mean, can I play violin?
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. But you started to learn music and understand.
Exactly. Started learning music. And then we moved, and I ended up playing like trombone because it was the only instrument left that nobody wants to play again.
Trombone people sleep on the trombone.
They be sleeping on the trombone. Everybody want to play the saxophone and the trumpet.
I played the clarinet and the mellophone.
Well, you know, the girls out the shop.
I played the clarinet because, and I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast, but my older sister played for years, and so she had an instrument. So instead of my mom going to buy a new instrument, I could just like learn on hers. And so that's why I chose clarinet first. But then I started playing like French horn and mellophone and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because I need to be heard.
I got there late, and they was like, you can't play trumpet. I wanted to play saxophone.
Of course.
Kenny G and all those kind of people my mom used to listen to. I was like, I'm going to be the black Kenny G. And then they put me with the trombone. So.
Okay, but you weren't really in the band for long.
Nah, we didn't even have a marching band in my high school. So I did band in middle school, and then I went to high school, and I was on the sports and girls and stuff like that.
You just over band?
Yeah, I was over band.
So it's weird though, because like just looking at your story and how like, you know, things just come full circle for you, you know, that bug, it doesn't really leave you in terms of music. It's like, okay, yeah, I put it down for a second, but I'm right back into it going to college.
Yeah. So I went to MTSU, and that's the school that my father went to.
Oh, really?
He didn't graduate, but I went, and it was one of those things where when I got to school, I was like, all right, what's the highest paying degree? And they was like, oh, engineer. So I'm be an engineer, not a music engineer, like electrical engineer. Yeah, so I started off electrical engineering, and the prereq classes to get in the actual program, they was wearing me out. And then I was just like, man, I don't want to be no engineer anyway. So then one of my homeboys, I was going to leave. I was going to quit. I was trying to just be like, man, college ain't for me. Even though I was having a good time, but.
Why? The school part of it.
Yeah, the whole school part of it. You know, I liked the fun. You know, it was fun, but calculus 2 or whatever, the trigonometry and all that stuff I was taking, I was like, nah, this ain't for me. And I'm really good with numbers, but
those weren't the numbers.
Those weren't the numbers for me. So I met this dude named Jason Peavy, and he was like, oh, I'm in the recording industry program. I was like, what recording industry program? I didn't know we had a recording industry program. He was like, yeah, we around the studios, and they got the business side and they got the production technology side. So he, picked me to that. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. And that's when I started enjoying school. Because I was doing what I was interested in. Mm-hmm. And I actually picked the business side instead of the production tech side. He was on the production tech. But I picked the business side because I'm like, you can learn to do learn production and intern in studios and learn the tech side, but you can't just learn the business side. You know what I mean? You learn the business of the business side. When I say that, I mean the actual climate of business, but learning the basic rules and fundamentals like of copyright law, music publishing, things like that. It was cool to learn those things.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about. I mean, we'll talk about that too as we move forward in the conversation. But you being presented with opportunities like being a VP of A&R at Reach Records, or being influenced by somebody like Diddy in terms of like the business acumen. Why is knowing the music business important? Like, significantly important for you to be successful? Because I mean, you're somebody who has 2 times Grammy Award winning producer, someone who's been on different sides of the creative process. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, what's been consistent in your journey is that you are very firm about the business. Like, I want to make sure I know this. Why is that?
I mean, it's crucial. I mean, it's no different than athletes not really understanding their contracts or just trusting everybody else. I mean,
because what's talent without having the bag secured?
You got to have the bag secured, and you got to know how to get another bag when the talent part of it is running low. Mm-hmm. My mom used to tell me all the time, nobody stays on top forever. So, you got to be thinking about your next plans. And for me, I'm in my 30s, still producing, and there's a lot of kids running around 19, 20, that are new, making their hits and doing their things, and I salute. But I'm also thinking about growing my business. So I've signed additional producers, I signed writers, I have my own artists now, and I'm just looking at things from an overall perspective for when I specifically may slow down, but how can I continue to be a force in the music business?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
and
absolutely.
I have worked at a label. I know what it's like taking an artist or artist that to that next level. You know what I mean? And I think that was done when I was VP at Reach Records with Lacrae. I mean, he had a nice following, but we just kind of took it to the next level.
How did you do that?
Lacrae was more so just moving in the faith-based hip-hop, Christian hip-hop. And my thing was I kind of came from I did come from the secular world, I guess, as people would say, but more mainstream is what I would say. So I'd already worked with the Ludacris's, the Gucci Manes, different people.
This was like prior to you working at
Reach Records. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this was, I started working at Reach Records, I think it was 2012. Mm-hmm. But I knew Lacrae from college. He actually went to MTSU with me. Okay. So that was early 2000s. Mm-hmm.
Did y'all have like conversations about doing like, working together, or like was he doing music at the time?
I mean, he used to like come over, I had like a mini studio in my apartment. I didn't stay on campus, I had an apartment. So I knew him, and he would come over and rap and stuff, but I ain't never really just take him serious or whatnot. But I remember he could rap. He definitely could rap, but he left MTSU and went on and did his faith-based hip-hop 1-2 and we reconnected when I moved to Atlanta. I did a couple of tracks on one of his projects. I think I was doing a lot of stuff over at DTP at the time. I had just did like I-20 Ludacris Rocco record. And then I was like, man, I'm going to help you out. I did a couple of joints, and he was like, man, I need you on the team. So I started working at their label, and I was just kind of like a Swiss Army knife. I was the VP. I was co-managing him. I was producing. I was A&R.
Yeah, that's cool.
Doing it all just to, get it there. So I've seen where I was able to take a small budget, you know what I'm saying? Because at that point in time, they was 100% independent and turn it into something major. And shit, the first album we did, we won a Grammy. So.
That's amazing. That's dope. Do you ever feel like, well, first, I want to go back to your mom's support for you, because I was wondering too, like, as a father, I know you have a daughter, how important do you think it is for a parent to, or just someone to identify with that child, their talents and their gifts early on? Because I feel like, maybe had you not picked up the violin or had your big cousin around, or, like, would you have, you probably still would have got bitten by the bug, but like, would you have been supported in that way to feel like you could move forward in music?
Man, life is just like, as I sit here and I tell you how that happened with my cousin and my mom, I look at it, it's just crazy how life is. My mom always says, that's life, when events turn out to be, how they turn out. But my mother I lost my father at an early age, so she stepped in from the jump, and it was tragic how we lost him. But
really,
yeah, he died in a house fire. So, with that being said, my mother has always, she never did, like baby me or nothing. But I worked hard. I kept good grades. I kept the police from coming around the house. I ain't never, embarrassed. I ain't want to embarrass my mama. That was my thing. Like I ain't finna embarrass her. Have her coming down to jail. Some of my other partners did that. We in the neighborhood. The police pull up. Lock them up, they headed to juvenile because they done stole something, or, I ain't want that embarrassment for my mother. So, because I didn't embarrass her, she did whatever she could do, and she was always like really big on her credit. So I remember I might have been 18, 17, something around there, but it was this drum machine that was at, I think the place was called Mars Music back then, not Guitar Center, Mars Music. And I wanted it, and I was just like, Mom, I'll never forget, it was $699.99. It was like $730.81 with tax.
Look, he know the exact price. That man know his numbers.
And I remember I wanted it so bad, and she was like, they had like 48 months free finance and some of that stuff like that. I was like, Mom, I'm gonna pay it off. I promise you I'm gonna pay it off. So she financed it for me, and that's what just really did it. That, and then I had an uncle who bought me a keyboard when I first got to school. He bought me a keyboard. So I had both of them things, and I was in the dorm room, and I was learning. I was cranking.
So in college, when you were at college, you were also producing. When did you start producing? Like, when did you get into the production side?
In college, my roommate, it was just crazy. College was wild. So even though I was doing like electrical engineering, not producing, I was still into, my roommate was a DJ Spade, who was a popular DJ in Middle Tennessee. So I still was like dibbling and dabbling with beats and stuff like that.
And he just so happened to be your roommate?
I knew him from high school. So we was like, all right, we're going to be, and then something else crazy. We had like a 3-man room. So our dorm room was bigger than the rest of the dorm rooms. And we used to throw parties in our dorm rooms. Of course y'all did. Yeah, so Thursday night, you already know.
Thirsty Thursday.
Thirsty Thursday. It would all start, the set would start at our place, and then Friday night, our place, Saturday night, our place, then Sunday we chill. But we had the parties over the weekend, so everybody who didn't go home, they'd come to our dorm for the weekend, and we just partied. But he was a DJ, so that kind of kept the whole music thing going as well.
So how did Street Symphony come about? Were you Street Symphony in college? Did you have a name yet?
Well, yeah.
You established yourself?
Yeah, and off the rip, so all my beats in the beginning, I used to just always use the violin noises and the brass and strings and, a lot of, like right now, a lot of people using pianos and acoustic guitars or whatnot. I used to just always have, my beats was just like real symphonic with hard drums. So I was just like, oh, Street Symphony. And then Monica came out with a song called Street Symphony.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's me right there. I'm going to be Street Symphony.
Yeah.
And shit, that was it.
And that was it.
That was it.
Could you describe your sound in 2 words?
Motivational music. I would definitely say that. Hard or just head nodding. It's just no, I couldn't describe it in 2 words. To answer that question, I can't describe it in 2 words.
There's no way to describe it in 2 words.
It's just, it's vibes. We've kind of been all over the place throughout the years, but I would definitely say when you get a Street Symphony record, most of the time it's going to be something, it's going to be street and hood, but it's going to be positive. You know what I'm saying? For the most part.
Yeah, I mean, actually looking over your discography, you could certainly see that it includes so many inspirational and like uplifting songs, such as Nipsey Hussle's Hustle and Motivate, as well as Meek's Young Black American, like 2 really big uplifting records, right?
Yep.
I wonder for you if that's an intentional thing for you as like a father of a daughter, and just feeling maybe even inclined to be more responsible for the Black voice, the Black male voice. Is that something that you're looking at when you're producing, or, you know, are you intentional about that when it comes to your production, or does it just happen?
That's the crazy part, is it seems like it just happens. You know, it gets to the point where sometimes I wonder if that's what when artists are looking for that now, are they coming to me for that? Which is cool.
Do you think they are? Now that, you have like a record like Hustle and Motivate and the Meek record, like, do you think people come to you for that?
Yay and nay.
Or the music just might make them feel that way.
The music I think the music just makes them feel that way. Because I still send them, you know what I'm saying, club records and everything else. We pushing to do more and more club stuff. But for some reason, maybe it's because everybody sends club records, or everybody, when they in the studio with them, play the same kind of record. So when I hit them with something different. Mm-hmm. It's like, then they be like, oh yeah, I can talk my shit. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a producer. I'm a rapper's producer. You know what I'm saying? If you just finna jump around and yell and all that, my beat's gonna beat you up because they gonna be either too musical or, that emotion ain't gonna be in my music. So I would say that a lot of times when I'm producing, the emotion I'm gonna pull out of you is gonna be some real talk. You know what I'm saying? Something you can, let your heart bleed. You know what I'm saying? Or make the song cry. I'd say, yeah.
That's dope. That's dope. You actually, we didn't really get into the fact that before you came to Atlanta, you moved to Houston.
Yeah.
What brought you to Houston, or why'd you decide to make that move from Middle Tennessee to Houston?
Yeah, so it was a point where I was like, do I want to go to Houston or I want to go to Atlanta? And I was like, Paul Wall was taking off. I was young, but Paul Wall was taking off.
You went with the intention of for music.
Yep.
Wherever you were going next was like, I need to be around music.
Everybody in Atlanta, I said, I'm finna go to Houston. I'm gonna try Houston. I had a partner down there, and he was like, man, just come down here. You can stay here. You can sleep on the floor here. So I moved to Houston. I was sleeping on the floor. I would go to Guitar Center every day, and that's how I would meet people in the, in the keyboard and the production rooms. I'm in there playing my beats on CDs.
Wow.
So different people would come in, they'd be like, that you? And I'd be like, yeah. Man, take my number. And I'd be, I'm hitting it with my spiel. I'm like, yeah, I moved from Tennessee. I'm down here. You know what I'm saying? Trying to connect the dots. So I met people that rap a lot. I met Lil Kiki. Ended up working with Scarface.
Wow.
All kind of little people. I was a producer named Joe Trax that took me up under his wing when I was there.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. So, and then you decided that from there, that experience, you had that journey, you worked with the people you could work with there, and then you decided to move to Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta was just going too hard.
You was like missing out.
Like Houston, it was cool, but the culture in Atlanta, once, I came up and visited a couple of times because one of my homeboys, he was also interning at a studio up here. Mm-hmm. And he was like, man, just come up here. And I came one time, and the one time I came, I met Titty Boy, I met Dollar, Luda was there.
All in one city?
Like all in one city. I think we was all at Doppler. He was interning at Doppler. So I was like, damn. Like the first visit, I'm in the room and I'm seeing all these people with my beat CD You know what I mean?
With your beat CD.
I didn't get to give it to him, but in my mind I was like, at least I have a better opportunity of getting it to him. And in Atlanta, it was just popping. So I was like, all right, man, we're finna move to Atlanta. And it was closer to, you know what I'm saying, my mom, 3-hour drive compared to being in Houston. That's like a 10-hour drive.
Facts. So I'm curious as to what song or record or opportunity you landed first being in Atlanta that like really, I mean, aside from what I know you did at Reach, being able to receive your first.
It was a song
Grammy.
called Really,
just like that first thing, it was like, okay, I'm doing this and this makes sense and I can continue to do this and profit from it.
Yep, it was a song called, well, see, I played the game a little different with that too, because when I left Houston, I never forget when my big homies was like, I was like, man, should I go up there with this job or should I just go hard? You know, or should I just, straight thug it out and just go up there and just move around? And a lot of times, especially with a lot of millennials, we taught to just go hard, chase your dream. But I never forget my big homie said, man, you better go up there, get a job, get you somewhere to stay. You know what I mean? He was like, if you a hustler, you gonna hustle. So I worked my 9 to 5, and then when I got off of work, I did my 1 too.
Where you work at 9 to 5?
I worked at Verizon Wireless. Yep. I worked at, I had insurance on.
Right.
My teeth stay clean and white. Yes. My health stay on point.
I wish I could say the same for my benefits, but it's okay. We still working.
Yeah, I had the banging benefits, the 401k, everything. And another homie was like, yo, hell, you see this right here? Log into this, 401k.com. He was like, you know what? You finna just put the maximum amount into this. Don't ask me no questions. You're going to appreciate it later on. Later on, I appreciate it right now. When I left Verizon, I switched it to an IRA, and we popping.
That's what's up.
Which is some whole other stuff outside of music.
Right.
But I was working at Verizon. My guy was like, how you think you're going to move around in the if you want to go to a club or an event, you can afford to go. You ain't out there looking crazy. You can buy your own little bottle or whatever you want to do if you need to do. And that's how I was able to move around up here. I was up here in Atlanta. I ain't had no real placements yet, but I was pushing a 645. That was Verizon money. I ain't gonna lie, and then a little hustling on the side, but
yeah,
that was that. So, it worked out for me.
That's what's up. And so the first
record I did that I got paid for, it was called Really Like Her. It was I-20 featuring Ludacris and Rocco the Don.
And how did that come about? How did you link with them to get that?
Man. How did I end up getting that placement over there?
But you was
I think I met somebody on like MySpace or something.
Really?
Like an A&R. I was hitting up I-20. No. I think I was hitting I-20. I met I-20 manager. I sent him a joint, and then after it was just on after that. I ended up doing like two joints for I-20. Yeah.
So early on when you moved down to Atlanta, were you just moving around a lot, like going to different events, parties, clubs?
Yeah, I was going to the clubs, parties. And then, I knew a few people that had some connections. One of my partners, big homie now, Mike De Niro, he was doing a lot of entertainment and club events and, some of the promoters around here and whatnot. So I was able to move around, with him. I always kind of moved around with the right people. And then, you would have, like, even when I lived in Houston, when Gotti and them would come down, because I got Memphis ties. I was born in Memphis.
Right.
So I would connect with them. So when they would come up here, I've been in this room a couple of times with them. I'd move around. So I just moved around the right way with the right people.
Right. So obviously, I mean, we've mentioned the Grammy a few times, but can you talk about winning that very first Grammy? It's considered to be one of the bigger accolades in the music business. You win a Grammy, it's like, all right, you did it. You know what I mean? How did it feel to do that, to accomplish that, at first? And then also, do you feel pressured at any point to kind of top that moment?
Well, strangely, I've been nominated for 8 Grammys. Mm-hmm. So it's just, man, be blessings. I just be in the right situations at the right time with the right stuff. I mean, the first Grammy nominations was for engineering. And
oh, really?
Yeah, they wasn't even for producing. And it's funny, remember I told you about the guy came up here and visited because he was an intern at Doppler. Mm-hmm. Well, he ended up buying him and another guy. His name is Alec Newell. And Alec and Drew Castro ended up buying this producer named Shakespeare's house out in Roswell.
Mm-hmm. We had Shakespeare on the podcast.
Okay, I think it was Shakespeare. Yeah, because he did a lot of stuff for Brandy. So he had this crazy house studio in Roswell. They bought it, and they was just running clients in and out of there, and they was doing their thing. And one time he called me, was like, yo, we need another engineer. I was like, all right. So I get there, and Keisha Cole. I was like, damn, okay, it's Keisha Cole. And I just happened to be, the other engineer that night, so they did the song "Sent from Heaven" that night. Exactly. And I was like, yo, this song's crazy. So I was a part of that whole thing. So of course they asked you for your credits and everything. Then that album got nominated for a Grammy. Then the song got nominated for a Grammy.
That's crazy.
It got nominated for like best performance and best R&B song. And then the album got nominated for, so they go 3. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
Off the rips. I'm like, okay, all right, that was crazy. Then we just kind of took it from there. So then we leave the R&B categories, and now it's at that point in time, Christian music didn't know what to do with hip hop. So Lacrae is doing this thing, and they put us in the gospel. They put rap in the gospel category. I guess they was like, oh, okay, this is hip hop is black. We're gonna put this over in the gospel category. So 2012. We won Best Gospel Album. So it was kind of a thing amongst gospel music. They're like, man, this ain't gospel music. This rap. This is the new age. Gospel music, sometimes they don't really want to embrace the youth and the young stuff. So they was like, oh, this was too contemporary. But, I mean, we won at the end of the day.
Right.
The one that felt the most special, I'd say, is probably in 2014, where I did, like, this was the one that was more challenging because I worked on a record and we had like a big Christian pop band. So it was me having to step outside of my box, and I was co-producer alongside 2 other producers, Dirty Rice and this other producer named Joseph Prelazny. But it was like this big, it was kind of like a rock rap record, you know what I'm saying, I would say. And big band called For King and Country. So we had to step out of my creative zone with this. And I remember just doing the drums and we catching the vibe. And then after we finished the joint, we was like, yo, this is going to be, we was like, man, we're going to win a Grammy for this. I'd never forget that night. We literally said, we're going to win a Grammy for this. We was at Joseph's house and we was like, we're going to win a Grammy. Man, if we didn't come back and won the Grammy.
That's like, crazy. You manifested that.
Yeah, we manifested it. And Lacrae was up for three nominations. He had a rap song. Then he had, I think he did a collab with like Mary Mary or something. It was something in the gospel category. And this year they was like, all right, we putting rap in contemporary music. So it was like contemporary Christian song of the year. It was a song of the year category. Won it. You know what I mean? And I had my uncle out there with me, and I was like, man, we ain't finna win that category. Like, that's like the big boy category in Christian music.
Won it.
That's
crazy.
This time, what was dope about this one is they actually had my name on the screen. They, a lot of times they just be the artist name, but sometimes when it's song, they do all the songwriters, etc. So they had my name on the screen. So I went up again and did the whole one too, and it was just, that one was real special. Then I've doubled back since then, and it's a, I don't know, it might be in your questions, but it's a kid's album I took a shot at. I got introduced, my partner Al Brand, she put me onto this kids group called Alphabet Rockers. He was like, man, it's different, you should give it a shot. So, and producing kids music ain't like producing, because it's more like kids educational music. So you can't go in there with, too much of the slap, too much bass, etc. It wants to be fun for 4 and 5 year olds, 6 year olds, and 7 year olds, whatever. But like you said, happy. But took a shot at that. Grammy nomination. I was like,
that's crazy.
This is crazy.
Such interesting pockets of how these things are happening. Like from your first one being an engineering credit to, a kid's album.
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's super tight. So how does success look to you? I mean, after being nominated for several Grammys to winning 2, what does success look like to you at this point?
Man, success just, for me, at this point is all about empowering others, you know what I'm saying, educating others. I think I've never really, I mean, I've had the situations that have made me unhappy, you know, in the music, but I've never been like, I guess just ultimately super screwed, I guess as people would say.
You've had good situations.
Yeah, I've had good situations because I knew the business beforehand. And even when in a situation that wasn't typical, I guess, by the book or whatnot, at least I knew what I was getting into.
Yourself into. Mm-hmm.
Which was cool with me, you know what I mean? So my thing is, you know, a lot of people think the music business, because then you got the people that get the degrees, but they don't know how to play the game. And I'm like, yo, anybody can, you know, you can shoot 3-pointers. You go out there, you play in the NBA, you think it's easy as catching the ball and shooting that 3-pointer, but it's a lot different when LeBron James is in your face, you know, or some 7-foot defender in your face, and the tempo of the game is going. It's not the same. That's how the music business is. You think it's as simple as, oh, I get this, I get that, I get this, I get that, but it's a lot of moving parts. And if you don't understand them moving parts, or you're not willing to move with them parts, you're not going to be real successful. So
Absolutely.
Not only do I know the rules of the game, but I've learned how to operate and move around in the game. And I educate my young producers to sign to me via Track or Die, my company.
Mm-hmm. Track or Die. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you received your first big accolade in a gospel genre, where, you know, did you feel like you were boxed in at that point,
Man,
or no?
Did I? So what made it worse, it was gospel, then it was Christian. So now we're looking at, 2014, I left Reach Records because I done it all. What else can I do? You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't going to grow there. You know what I mean? Like, we done won it all. And I knew I was bigger than gospel and Christian music. Like,
yeah, I mean, now that I know your story a little bit, because I didn't realize, you know, there were so many things prior to Reach, just like reading, you know, online and things. Those are the things that they highlight because it's like those were big moments for you, which makes sense. But you had already been doing, you know, X, Y, and Z. So
yeah, I put them on the mainstream. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I was a gospel. No, they wasn't thinking about mainstream.
Right.
Reach Records. They wasn't thinking about mainstream. But they had no outlet to
do it. Yeah.
That still understood what they do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's different if some gospel person comes and like, yeah, but I'm from that world, but at the same time, I knew Lacrae. I understand what he was trying to do. So I was like, all right, I got it. Now let's make some connections. Let's connect Big Crit to this situation.
Right.
You know, let's connect Don Cannon to this situation.
Right.
So
I mean, after, how did you feel boxed in? Like, how was it the industry that made it seem like this is all you could do or you're able to do?
Well,
or
know,
like,
a lot of times the way the internet and things work, you know, when you search people, it's going to automatically come up based upon their accolades. So I'm leaving Reach Records, and every time I'm in a meeting or something, and they've only done some research, they come to me like, yo, I got this artist, some gospel artists, and I'm like, man, I have no idea how to play the organ. I haven't, like, you sending me straight gospel stuff. I don't know what to do with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it was just real tricky. So that's when it was almost like it was starting over all over again. So at that point in time, we hit the ground again, and then it was, you know, it became 2 Chainz, and then I reconnected with Gotti. I reconnected with, you know, back to the streets with it. So,
what's one of your favorite moments working with an artist to date? Like, just that we haven't talked about. I know you said you reached out to 2 Chainz. You worked with Dave East, Ludacris, Meek.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on. But can you recall a moment where you're like, this is really fun. Like, I really enjoy my job. This record gave me life and renewal, you know, from doing what you were doing prior to and moving forward in your career.
I mean, the mixtape era was real popping, so, you know, it was cool to hear 2 Chainz, you know, on a joint, and then it was cool. Gotti always do great records. I would say though,
is that Memphis energy?
Yeah, because Gotti worked real hard. So, you know, when you in with Gotti, you're gonna get 2 or 3 records done with him. But a real good experience I had probably was Meek Mill. And I think this was his second album, and I was out there in L.A., and I connected with him. The A&R Dallas Martin, he connected me with him. I pulled up to the studio, and he was already working with Drummer Boy and I think Mustard, so I kind of had to just wait my time. I'm a new dude. I mean, everybody was there, a lot of celebrities. You know, it was going down, and I'm in the corner like, I don't really know these people, but I know when I press play, it's going down.
Right. So you was prepared.
I was prepared, so when my time came, the first joint I played, like, he went in there and recorded.
Really?
Yeah, and then, like, my flight was about to leave. I think I got there like 12 o'clock. He pulled my music up at like 4. My flight was at like 7 in L.A. So as soon as he got done recording, I'm out. And then, you know, just on the way to the airport, I'm like, damn, y'all just work with Meek Mill. It's going down now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And from that point, it just kept
fueled
going.
You.
It just fueled me.
So I hear you talk about we a lot, like we came up with a different plan or we did this, you know, to move forward. Yep. You have a team.
Yes.
So as a producer, as an executive, like, why is it important to have that team, and who did you, like, reach out to first in terms of, I mean, I'm sure like an attorney, but who did you reach out to first in establishing a team for yourself?
Well, my attorney is definitely Bernie Watkins.
Yeah.
But I kind of just, you know, I was looking at just the careers of a lot of successful producers. They are, you know, they have a team. You know
like
what
who?
I mean?
Who do you
can't
look to?
do it. Dr. Luke. You know what I mean? When I first did my whole publishing situation at Cobalt, I realized Dr. Luke had all these different producers and songwriters signed through his imprint at Cobalt at the time, and I was like, that's the boss move. You know what I mean? Because you can't do it all. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's you get some producers that come up with artists and they lock in with those artists, and then when those artists blow up, they blow up, which is, looking back, I still kind of recommend that to an extent, but it becomes a time when you gotta also be thinking about your career, and if you're only attached to one artist when it's over for him, then what? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Now, you gotta pay your dues, but my approach to the whole game was just more so, you know, I did that, I guess, to say with Lecrae, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I hit the ceiling, and I jumped out there, and I was like, you know, here go 3 or 4 producers that I think real dope that I love to collaborate and work with. Let's squad up. So we squatted up, and we've been going ever since.
That's fire. And also, you mentioned, you know, a few different A&R's names since we've talked and since we've been sitting down. Connecting with those people on the label side, or, you know, as a producer especially, you know, I'm sure you get like the text like, yo, so-and-so is looking for this. Mm-hmm. How were you able to establish those relationships? I mean, fortunately for your journey, you had the experience working at an actual label. Mm-hmm. But even before that or after that, you know, just establishing those connections, how were you able to finesse that or do that?
Well, in the beginning, it was just really more so managers, because managers are going to be direct with the artist the most. Again, I was just, things aligned. I got a partner that's a sports agent, and then he was cool with Dallas. Then I moved over, we always lived in the same apartment complex. When Dallas first got his job, I think at Def Jam, under Shake. And then Dallas, you know, I just kept real good relationships with him. And then, you know, a lot of times I look for those new A&Rs that's got something to prove. You know what I mean? At that point in time, Dallas was a new A&R, then the whole MMG thing, and then Atlantic, and now he's one of the biggest A&Rs in the game. But if I text him right now, he gonna respond, because he knows that I'm about my business. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna do nothing, you know, fugazi or crazy. So it's just a great working relationship. A
good rapport. Yeah. Why is you know, having or maintaining that reputation, that rapport with people so important in the music business, at least?
It's super solid, because it's a lot of moving parts, and a lot of times we as creators, we start thinking it's all about us. Oh, my beat did this, and my beat did. Well, if the artist's gonna be okay if they don't be on your beat, like Beyonce still gonna sell a world tour if she don't use your record. Mm-hmm. And I tell producers, you know, my producers more so than anybody, like, the game will keep going. It's a lot of talented people, with or without you. Mm-hmm. It will keep moving. And I was an A&R myself, so I already know. Right. Like, this producer over here, you difficult to work with. And I got an email. I got 10 other producers waiting to do the exact same thing. So you got to kind of balance that. Now, you can't be no pushover or whatnot, but you got to kind of balance when to give and when to take.
Facts. Did you ever have hopes of being the artist? or like being on the artist side?
No.
Never? No. So what drew you to the production and being like behind the scenes so much? Like what was it that fueled you to be like, you know, I want to be behind the scenes. I'm good. Because I hear a lot of producers that started off rapping or started off more on the artist side, and I wonder.
I just thought the producer was just was super cool. You know, the artist, like I'm in the cut.
That's just natural.
Yeah, that's just natural for me. And then like Diddy made it cool to where the producer was like, he was just as cool as the artist, but he didn't have to be the artist, although Diddy at times.
Yeah, I was about to say, Diddy was in the video. Okay?
Yeah, he was in the video, but I don't know. And then Dr. Dre too. They was just always like, you know, in the cut and cool. So I was like, you know what, that works for me right there. I don't need that extra.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I hate my voice on the microphone too. So.
Are you cringing listening to yourself right now?
Nah, this mic sounds real good. I may need to get this mic. I might drop my solo album.
Right, it's definitely gonna be on this one. So yeah, like I mean, I've already talked about you being really focused on being like a boss in your own right and a business person. But how do you balance the two of like being creative and then also like handling your business and being a father and like being a person? You know, you have like a lot of moving parts to your life.
Yeah.
But then you also are establishing a team of people, having to delegate certain things. I'm sure that could be difficult while trying to create.
No, I mean, that's something that I'm working on and trying to figure out now. It's like I like to stay busy because it keeps me active. When I'm dealing with people for my team, I try to always deal with people that are self-sufficient and trustworthy. Your talent alone, that's not enough. You know what I mean? Like, you can be talented, but it's a lot of talented people out here. So when I know you're self-sufficient, you know what I'm saying, you hard-working, you're easy to work with, you know, anything outside of that, it's just, I can't do it. And then, you know, finding partners or people outside of the creative on the business side is always a good thing where you can get some people that, you know, you ain't got to necessarily teach, and they got their own connections and relationships too, so you guys can kind of work together. And then, like you said, being a father, that's new. You know, my daughter is a year, but that's priority. You know, I'm operating on a calendar these days, and I'll say these 3 days I'm with my daughter, point blank period. And maybe during those 3 days when she sleep, I can do some clerical work if I need to via email. These 2 days going to be creative days. I just want to produce or work with songwriters, you know.
Just planning it out, being prepared.
Planning it out.
You recently, too, as well, accepted a position as a music professor at your alma mater, yeah? I
did. I've done two things. This has been a very busy year. I built a studio in Sandy Springs.
Okay,
so I got
congrats.
my own studio now, Atlanta Sound Factory.
Sweet.
Then I signed my first real artist this year. His name is Spade Mello, so y'all can...
Spade Mello.
Spade Mello.
Where's he from?
He's a military kid, so he's been everywhere, but he's in Atlanta now.
Dope.
He spent a lot of time in Alabama, but he's in Atlanta now. And then I just accepted an adjunct professor at my alma mater, so that was pretty dope.
Yeah, so I'm curious as to, you know, you're young and you're a professor. You know, that's usually something that people kind of lean towards like later on down in their journey.
Yeah.
And I think you're, you know, why was it important for you to accept this offer now and, you know, as you have all these other moving parts going on in your life?
So the school is MTSU, and, you know, that's kind of where I got my experience. That's where, you know, I learned the business. And, you know, I have a scholarship there as well.
Yeah.
The only African-American scholarship that they got left.
Really?
Yep. So you got the Street Symphony scholarship there.
Is that only to like music students, or is it like?
Yeah, it's for kids that are going into the third year that have been accepted into the music business program. Yeah. So we got that. And they've just done a lot for me and been supportive for me as well. They honored me at the Grammys. I was this year's honoree.
Yes.
So that was
distinguished alum.
Yeah.
That's so dope.
Yeah. So that was dope. So I had got word that they were looking with so many kids now. At one point in time, I was like, they're using me as and not using in a good way, but I was kind of like the face for hip hop to start attracting more Well, my story was more the face for urban music kids, saying like, hey, we got having successful students from urban music here at MTSU, because being outside of Nashville, it's just a whole bunch of, it's just country, a little bit of pop. But then you started having the Tay Keiths, he went to school there. And then a songwriter, this real dope named PJ, she went there. So as they continue to have these success stories, they're like, we need to kind of start catering the curriculum towards urban music. So they was like, anybody that could, kind of pilot or start we're thinking about starting a class, a hip-hop R&B songwriting class. So I thought on it. I was like, you know what? I can do this. I was looking at my schedule. I love to go see my daughter anyway. She's in Tennessee. So I was like, I can put this all together and, make it make sense. Exactly.
So how do you intend on impacting your students? Like, I'm just curious as to what sort of professor Street Symphony would be.
I'm going to be an experienced professor. I'm not going to just sit there and just do a whole bunch of books and stuff like that. And, I'm going to, with hip hop and with urban music, I can't grade you on, did you follow a specific format when you wrote a song? Because look at Lil Nas X. He broke every single rule of music that people would have been like, oh no, you can't do this, you can't do that. But I think the biggest thing that I can offer the students is real world experience. Because when I was in college, it was cool, but it's different if my professor would have been, oh yeah, I worked with Michael Jackson or Quincy Jones or something, not a professor that might have been, in the music business, but didn't really never have any success. But they can kind of give you their opinion, and give you the book versus someone who can, shoot, I might hit up my boy Sean Garrett and be like, yo, I'm going to put you in a hotel tonight, get down to Nashville or Murfreesboro and, be a guest speaker. I mean, come on, man. He's one of the biggest urban songwriters ever. And he's sitting here in front of y'all. So that, you're going to learn, you're going to take way more out of that than any book or anything.
That could ever teach you.
Yeah.
Facts, absolutely. So what's next for Street Symphony in terms of the producer?
In terms of the producer,
yeah. What's next for you?
Placement wise, I've been working with a couple people. I done got to the point where I don't like to
speak on it too soon.
Yeah, but it's some big names.
Dope.
So that's exciting. I hope I've heard the records. I just hope it all goes through. So I ain't gonna speak on it, but I'm definitely still producer. I'm still definitely leading my production company, Track or Die. We're cranking out joints. I'd say we're moving more into R&B and pop stuff as well. I just finished another children's album with Alphabet Rockers that comes out August 8th, I believe it is.
Sweet. You just got your hands in a lot of different bags.
I got my hands in a lot of different bags, yeah. So I can get a lot of different bags.
I love it. Exactly. I love it. Congrats to your success. Congrats. I love the fact that you're pouring back into, students who are inspired and encouraged probably by your story as well. Giving back with the scholarship and your talents as a professor now. Having your own day, March 7th.
Yeah, March 7th.
That's fire. 2 days after my birthday.
Okay.
Good time. Good season. Having, the Distinguished Alum Award. And I'm sure plenty more awards and accolades will come to you just because of, what you're pouring back into the world, into music. So we appreciate you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you all having me as well.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to seeing, who those big artists are. Maybe you'll tell me off the record, but I'll try to get it out of you. Tell them where they can find you on social media so they can get in touch.
I'm on Instagram. I am Street Symphony. That's pretty much where I'm at.
Cool.
Yeah.
And as always, thank you. And thank you to Street Symphony. And as always, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. We can be found on social media at IDM Podcast, as well as myself at Sammy Improved on all social media platforms. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Sonically superior.